you guys.
That was sudden. That was sudden. Phillippe, I'm gonna put you on hold for 1 second.
Go in your hole, Phillippe.
Oh my gosh! All right. So we've had some technical issues all the way through.
Yeah.
This whole thing, and
some would say we're cursed.
Yeah, and I think the problem was that we had a software that we were not qualified to be using. So we are trying a different one now that is...
I don't have to use a hand crank to keep it going the whole time.
We don't have to do complex math problems in our head. Yeah. So you were at 9:30 last week or the week?
No, in March.
Oh, in March.
I was
okay.
there. It was great. Someone brought a sign with my face on it, and I was just at a guitar tech, so I don't know. I don't know what was happening.
Were you on tour last week?
I was supposed to be, and then our show got canceled, and then I got paid to stay home. And I gotta tell you, that's the way to do it, friends.
Dude, I texted you a couple of times.
You did?
Responded.
I'll get it.
So I assumed you were on tour. You were just avoiding me.
Yeah, let's sorry, Phillippe, we're gonna keep you in there. This is the airing of grievances portion. Those in the dark.
Well, at any rate, tonight I'm excited.
Me
I'm
too.
excited. Someone who is a near dear friend of mine, and just a joy to talk to you most of the time. We have Phillippe from Caroline Guitar Company on in just a moment. Okay, gotta turn the loop button off. Turn the loop button. It's my first day. Literally my first day. Please, what's up, my friend? How are you?
I love being the canary in y'all's coal mine.
Yeah,
right
well, you know what? Believe it or not, everybody is all the time.
Yeah.
It's like every time we start one of these, we're like,
that was it. That was the little technical difficulty. There's something else.
We'll be like, yeah, every time we start one of these, it's like we have like this 15 minutes before that, like we brought you on a couple of minutes earlier just to make sure that everything is working. I can't think of a time that we weren't fiddling with shit right up until like the very, and then like there have been plenty of times where we went on knowing that there were problems and we're just like,
we gotta go now.
Yeah.
It's always a thrill.
Stuff is live, man.
Yeah.
Stuff is live. And I used to have the same kind of experience. I don't know if you guys have had this when you're playing or performing, but sometimes you need that screw up in the first song or two, or something didn't work right to all of a sudden make you present, because sometimes you can just have nights where nothing goes wrong and you're just sort of on autopilot.
You're just playing the album. Yeah.
You're just playing. But all of a sudden something messes up, or something breaks, or something doesn't work, or you've got to figure something out, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, now I'm here in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I do, and I do have the thing though where like I flub, and then like I'll have the nights where if I flub, the rest of my night is ruined. Where I'm like second guessing every single thing I'm doing, but for the most part, I'm like doing sideman stuff, so it's not like I screwed up my own song and can then come back into and remind myself of how I felt when I wrote it, and know the chords.
Yeah.
It's not built into me the same way. And also, as a sideman, I'm commanding a certain dollar value to not have those. And so that's a. And do I play guitar for fun anymore? I don't know.
I haven't seen you have fun in years.
It's been a long time.
I've never. Yeah, and honestly, your first mistake is being the kind of sideman who brands themselves as being A, perfect, B, A, good.
No, this is this is what I have told people. This is what I told people when I lived in New York, and this is what I've told people in Minneapolis. And it will get you a surprising amount of gigs. And all I say is, I'll be like, you know what? There are tons of better guitar players in this city than I am. But I will show up on time.
Mm-hmm.
I will know the material, and I'll be sober.
Yeah.
And a lot of times,
my gosh. I'll hire you right now.
Yeah.
And honestly, most of the time you need 2 out of 3.
I think you could be like, I don't play guitar, but I'll show up on time.
I'll be sober.
Yeah. And I'll know the material. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, that's like I've been in bands where it's like your bandmates are 0 for 3.
Yeah.
Like rehearsal starts at 8, and then like you're sitting there like rehearsals at 8 because literally at 10 I turn into a pumpkin. You know what I'm saying? I'm like it's out. Like boom, got to go. I've negotiated this coverage. I've got kids at home, whatever. And then all of a sudden I'm like 8:45. They show up. They're setting up until 9:15, and they're like, "So what are we doing?" And I'm like, "What are we doing? So what are we doing?" Well, okay, so show me what we're supposed to do. And I'm like, show you. And
stop the song. All right, can we pause for a second and then practice the drum fill for who knows, for as long as
I feel like every drummer I have ever worked with practices said fills while I'm trying to talk.
Yes.
Have
All
you
my
ever
drummers, I love you. None of you are watching. I'm sure.
Have you ever had to suffer through drummer auditions?
No, but you know what I have? When a band I don't care for, when Dream,
God, I wish you had named names.
when Dream Theater did their drummer auditions, that was I couldn't not watch it. That I was glued to it.
That's a higher order.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
That's a higher order of
We're talking like Dream Theater cover band. Drummer rehearsals.
Okay, got it.
Right?
Yeah. But the guy who got the gig was actually most of the guys who were auditioning to be in Dream Theater.
Yeah, were in Dream Theater.
Yeah.
I mean, how else do you prep? But imagine
those guys all knew the material and stuff.
They did.
And being that you're going for a Dream Theater gig, that's like means you can play.
Yeah.
Like there's I'm saying like when you audition drummers for like your original band, someone's like, this guy's a good drummer and blah, blah, blah. And then you have to sit there and wait for him to set up for like 30 minutes. And all of a sudden, like 2 bars in, you already have that freaking wobbly steering feeling. And you're like, oh, this sucks.
We better.
And you just know like this guy can't do. And then you feel obligated out of the sunk cost
to do the whole thing. Yep.
Yeah. And really you're just like, this is garbage. Like we knew 2 measures in. This was a mess. Like it didn't get better.
Yeah. I have a we don't talk about it much, but I have a band that I kind of front, and we play like twice a year now, and mostly Dead covers.
And by mostly we mean 2.
Great, 90 minutes. That's a 90-minute set. And Kai plays in that group as well, but it's 100% just for fun. But we
depending how Darkstar goes, you might play 1 cover.
Right, that's exactly.
Right. Yeah, you could go.
Drums goes 45 minutes. But where am I going with this?
You're going to talk about Joey?
No,
we're talking about bad drumming.
Oh,
and like
but no, we used to be. It used to be a thing that we were serious about. I mean, like we were on a label and all that kind of and stuff like that. But it was a trio, and we were looking to expand to a quartet. And Kai eventually landed in that position. But there was one guy who I just don't know. I don't know, like if he didn't bother to listen to or had any idea what it was that we did. Cause like, he showed up and I'm like, I'm throwing out, like chord progressions at him and things like that, and he's like, major 7? Like, oh, that's pretty easy, dude. I'm sorry. Like it's gonna get there are gonna be a lot of numbers and slashes and things like that, and you can't do the major 7. And so then we had to go through the rest. I did the thing, and so we had to go through, a couple more songs, and I'm watching him, and he doesn't have any idea. Like any idea. And so I bet you all of us in the room at the same time were like, man, we gotta fucking close this thing out. And he's like, these guys want to keep playing, and we're like, we should keep playing for him.
Yeah. Oh.
And then I come in, only major 7 chords.
Yep. He's just like,
everything. Over everything.
He came in, we're like, can you just do 5th chords? He's like, 5s plus 13s plus.
Yeah. Or
can I augment that 5?
I'm just doing flat 5 substitution the whole time.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh boy, man. Oh boy. Go on.
We had Rosie Frater Taylor from the UK on a couple weeks ago.
Have you listened to her at all?
No, I haven't.
Oh my
dude, spell it out for me again. I'm gonna work analog here.
Rosie is her first name, and her last name is hyphenated. It is Frater, Frater.
That's it.
Hyphen Taylor. So she's a guitar player. She's 23 now. She put out a record at 21, but she was accepted into the Royal Academy of Music for guitar. Which
Jesus.
Yeah, and part of that I was like. Initially when I
feel fancy that I can play like Roxanne.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
you are fancy. You are fancy.
Check it out. Murder by Numbers. Here's some 7th chords.
But so I didn't know how amazing it was until we talked to her, because she was like, yeah, I was one of 10 students.
And I took that as like one of 10 guitarists.
Right. No, she was one of 10 students admitted in. They admit one student per instrument per year. So she was guitar for that year that she was accepted in.
And, oh my God. And some poor son. I want to say poor son of a bitch, but it could be a poor daughter of a bitch.
Yeah.
But somebody else has practiced 30,000 hours in their lifetime and can play anything imaginable and didn't get it.
Right. But during that conversation, there were a couple times that I wanted to like throw out some like dumb theory jokes like I just did.
Yeah.
But it was too embarrassed to do it in front of her.
It was fun.
Do you ever see that HBO show? It was kind of before HBO got peak and good. It was called Dream On.
Oh no!
Please tell me it was about early Aerosmith.
No. But it was about this guy who's like kind of has an overactive imagination and stuff. But there's a great episode. The show isn't that great. It's hot and cold. But there's an amazing episode where he discovers a woman he's been introduced to and is hooked up with is in Mensa, and all of a sudden he's hyper insecure about how smart he is. He's like, I went to NYU. I'm not dumb. I just
yeah.
But everything he's doing. And she invites him. It's like, the Mensa people are just like everybody else, And he's invited to some dinner and he's just constantly insecure about how dumb he feels compared to her because she's in Mensa. And she's there. It's like, this is blah, blah, blah. He's a professor of. He's one of the most noteworthy professors of Roman studies and blah 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 and ancient philosophical blah 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 And he goes, the guy cracks the joke. He goes, shame about killing Caesar, but somebody deserves that for putting anchovies in a salad. And the guy doesn't laugh. Like the professor just like looks at him like. And he goes like, oh, and he feels so small and dumb. So then he gets dumped by, he and the girl break up, and she's like, I never thought you were stupid until now. You're being an idiot. And he's like, I can't deal with this. And then later the next day he's watching like the Today Show, and like the professor is a guest on some show, like, like Today or something, some morning show, and they're like, so blah, blah, blah. And you're the foremost expert on Julius Caesar. And the guy goes, well, sometimes people deserve to die for putting anchovies in a salad. And the hosts are like,
That's cold.
But it's almost like that professor is like, oh, this is a joke for dumb people.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm going to use this right now.
I know a lot, including my audience. We will do this.
Yeah.
That is pretty much exactly how we felt last week. I think, like, we're a gear show,
And she was like, I don't really care about gear.
Yeah, we were like, so on your record, and she's like, yeah, I just recorded it here. We're like, oh, you mean like you have a studio in your house? She's like, no, my bedroom.
She recorded on like a Mark I Focusrite Scarlett 2i2.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Into Cubase.
Yeah.
With a unknown condenser microphone.
Yeah, we were like,
her dad loaned her.
What kind of microphones? She's like, I don't know what kind of microphone it was.
Yeah. And we're like, well, it wasn't one of the good ones, because Dad would have the good mic talk with you if he was loaning you one of the good ones. He gave, it took everything to not leave here crying the last time. But
oh my gosh. And meanwhile, literally, oh look, here's a mic, here's a setup into Cubase.
Cubase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're that good, I guess anything's possible.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm like, what do you use for gear? She's like, fucking talent. I'm like, oh,
cool.
Well, for the rest of us.
Hey, okay. All right. So I'm sorry, guys. We got this new. Can you see the comments, Phillippe?
I can't see the hold on. Let me see. Hold on. I see private chat. Let me see the comments. Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Team on Rule. I have baked Kate Beckinsale in it. Oh damn.
So it's on a screen that's kind of far away for us. But I've had a lot of people wanting me to ask you about the new pedal, and we have someone there who also was done with us talking about random shit. So
Too bad. You got Phillippe. You're getting some random
Welcome
shit.
to the show. You have me as a host. You're getting dumb shit.
Just when you think you've got the answers, I change the questions. So Crom is our pedal. We're releasing Thursday. We're super excited about it. We did a limited batch of it last November, just a little thing, and it sold out in like 18 minutes, and it was like great.
Cool.
And then it's just been such a mess of a year. Like we'd been aiming to put out Crom since like February, and it just keeps getting postponed, and we'd just fallen way behind.
Yeah.
And it is cool, and it is nasty, and it's something that I'd been wanting to do for almost a decade. And the core of it is basically similar to a pedal we used to make that was the first pedal ever launched on Kickstarter, and it was called Olympia, and it was basically a super tone bender but with way more gain, and we'd removed the tone control on the Olympia. And then Crom is us revisiting this, and I remember years ago I was having a chat with Peter Bregman, who's up in your parts.
Oh yeah, I know
yeah.
Peter. Yeah.
And Peter was looking at Olympia, and he goes, "Hey, this is so funny," because I thought I came up with this idea myself, and I remembered, oh my God, I think Peter Bregman gave me this idea. Peter was looking at this and goes, "You know what would work really well with this pedal? A Fender Harvard tone control." And I went, "A Fender Harvard tone control?" It's like, yeah, like check it out. So I checked it out and thought, oh, that would look good. And then I forgot about it. And then years later, I'm revisiting. Like someone's like, you need to re-release Olympia. And I'm like, okay, we're going to re-release Olympia and we'll do this. And I start breadboarding. I was like, hey, you know what might work here? Fender Harvard tone control. And I'm like looking, and I first tried to do it with just like the Fender Harvard values, and it doesn't work. And I'm like, okay, let me recalculate the impedances and do stuff. And I'm like, oh, that does really work. I was like, that is really cool, because a lot of super tone benders, a lot of tone benders end up using like the Big Muff tone circuit, which is cool, but it's really scooped. It really has that scoopy thing. And we've used it in different things. We use it in Wave Cannon 2. We've used it in Shikaru. And generally you compensate by then you change the filter so they don't scoop so much so you can boost and do all this stuff. But it's all post gain. Whereas the Fender Harvard tone control is basically, if you didn't have a master volume, it's just basically tied to the volume control on the amp. So you have a volume and a tone and they interact where it's like, oh, if the volume's down here, you can open up more highs into the circuit by turning it this way. And then you turn the volume up, you don't have to do it as much. And they kind of seesaw back and forth. And it makes all the sense in the world in this kind of circuit, because then you can get these things where gain seems to be low, but gain is raging for all this stuff that's high. Right. So all the high end is just screaming, but then you've cut bass really dramatically and all this stuff where the bass frequencies aren't getting distorted as much. And then you can do stuff where then you just sludge it out like in a totally different way, but it's not as lossy. It doesn't have that loss built in. So it's like stuff feels really immediate and powerful. And we found people loving it because it was almost like just, I think of it as like my instant Mastodon pedal, like it's instantly like, oh my God, I'm just roaring on this stuff. And we sold out, and then retailers were like, we need these, we want these, we need these. And it's just been a long, slow curve, but we're finally putting it out. It goes live with our retailers on Thursday. I'm super pumped. And it's just really nasty. And then there's some different mods that I'd put in. We did mods over the years on pedals. And there's a mod that we did that changes which clipping diodes get used, which a lot of people do, and that's cool. But also we did one where it changes the diodes and also the emitter resistor. So it's like the gain drops really dramatically and a lot of bass gets sucked out of it. But it's really cool if you can't really use a lot of muffs in front of dirty amps or tone benders or stuff. Yeah. But this you can use in front of a crunchy or dirty amp. All of a sudden it's like, oh, it's this nasty focused overdrive thing now punching this amp, or you can use an overdrive pedal in front of it and then the whole thing just rages and rages and rages, right? So you can have it where you're stacked in with other stuff or not. And then there's a bias gate in there that it's like an Easter egg that if you go in and mess with it, it makes the whole thing just sound broken. So it's like there's a lot of fun little things in there. But if you don't mess with it and you just use you just put the turbo mode on and just roar, it's really immediate. So It's fun. Yeah, we don't try to want to have too much of a learning curve on our stuff. We want it where we want people just going and this does it. And I'm really pumped for it. It's so nasty. I'm delighted. But that's the Crom. That's
thinking about it right now, I don't, like Hawaiian Pizza is a pedal that I've used often.
Oh yeah, same.
And I don't even know if I know
what the
controls are. Like in terms of like what what they're actually doing. I just know the visual of what it looks like when it it makes the one sound I like, and I know the visual of what it looks like when it makes the other sound I like, and and I know if it's weird. And I think that's kind of the case with because you always have those interesting interesting labels on them. So I'm never thinking like, oh, that one's gain, that one's a tone. I'm just like, that one makes it that sound like that, and that one
pig has to be here, pineapple has to be here,
right?
And I'm good. Yeah.
So the iconography thing was something that we stumbled into early on when we first started the company, and we were doing development testing. And I have an MBA from the University of South Carolina. I used to take this way more seriously, where I'm like, I'm going to do beta user testing and do everything like really thorough. But when we first developed our first pedal, we did some with writing on it and some with icons, and we made two prototypes that were exactly the same. And people were like, I think this one has more range with the iconography stuff. Like, it's the same circuit. But what we found was if we labeled things gain, shape, level, tone, people anchored themselves to 12 o'clock and then to derivations like this, or they might anchor one of them all the way or one the other. But they didn't noodle about. And all of a sudden I was like, this is fascinating. It's like you've removed, because like I noticed this even to this day. Like I would set up like a basement, and I'd take a basement. I'm like, okay, I have a tweed basement. I'm going to turn the mids to about 1 o'clock and the bass to just past noon and the treble just short of noon. But then I noticed I would do that when I'm like on a Mesa single rec too. Like I'm like, I got anchored to that.
Yeah.
You know, like that, like bass. Well, I'm a type of guy who pushes a little bass and rolls a little treble off and all this stuff. And I'm like, these are totally different circuits. Why am I doing this? You know, and I'm like, that's just force of habit, you know? And people get married to that stuff. And so when you tell me that about the pizza, that just delights me, because I remember I was at NAMM and these Brazilian guys came by and like, we use pizza. It's great for strats. And they were turning it in like really weird ways that I
was. Because that was the year I met you at NAMM. And I think they had just left because you were still like brimming about it. You were like, these dudes were using this pedal like an overdrive kind of thing, right?
Yes. Yeah. And not and in a way that made no sense to me, because I'm like, wait, you're killing the headroom, but you're running low gain, but then you're pushing volume, but it's like you're starving the circuit, but they sounded like they were grabbing. We had a 76 Strat, and they were playing, and it sounded like I would have never in a million years. It's like, you know, like they say, give a million monkeys typewriters and they'll write a novel, you know?
Right.
You could have taken a million of me in a million years, and if I'd imagined the sound that they were making, which was like this cool kind of like, it was somewhere between like Ry Cooder and Robbie Robertson kind of sound.
Yeah, that's cool.
And they were doing it with a Hawaiian pizza with like this, and I'm like, I would have never in my brain, and I'm the designer of this thing, I would have never thought, you know what, to get this sound, I'm going to grab a Hawaiian pizza. It would have never occurred to me. There's like a million freaking pedals made by every other maker, and a half dozen that we make that I would have grabbed before.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of this stuff, you know? Like, you know, just stuff is unpredictable on this. Someone was asking, does Crom come with a copy of Conan? Well, you can buy Conan the Destroyer for like, I think they pay you to take copies of it at places.
Wait, is that in reference to Conan?
Yeah, so Crom is the god of Conan in all the Conan movies. So he's always like, Crom, you know, I have no taste for prayer, but I'll do this once. You know, and he's like
is this Crom, in the Schwarzenegger movie?
It's in the Schwarzenegger movies, and it's in all the books and comic books.
All right.
So Crom is the god, the Sumerian god, and he's an angry god that, basically, and this sort of explains a lot about Conan the Barbarian, but it's also some hilarious stuff about John Milius, who wrote Conan the Barbarian, the movie, like what motivated him. So like Crom, so Conan believes in a deity named Crom, but Crom couldn't be bothered to interfere in the affairs of mortal men. He just doesn't care. Crom is an angry god who lives in a mountaintop. He doesn't want to be bothered. Doesn't care about your trifles.
Yeah, where's the fiction coming?
I know. I'm like, sounds pretty reasonable, you know. And I'm like, you know, Crom doesn't care who wins this football game, guys. And he like Crom, like the whole thing of Crom's like, Crom has blessed you with free will and the strength to defeat your enemies if that's what you want. That's it. That's Crom. Like, he doesn't care. You know, like, so there's a big speech in the middle of Conan. Yeah. Conan has a big speech in the movie. He's like, Crom, grant me revenge. And if you can't do that, then to hell with you. You know, it's like, so I was like, we have to name a pedal for Crom.
Yeah.
So it has a sword from Conan the Barbarian, and then like the mountain that supposedly Crom lives in, and then that helmet that Conan wears in the movie. Like, so those are the icons. So sword, mountain, helmet, and it's hilarious. I'm writing the manual. I'm like, sword controls, mountain controls, helmet.
Yes.
It reminds me of that the SNL like the Celebrity Jeopardy thing.
Yeah.
And where like one of the categories was S words, and and the Sean Connery is like, I'll take Schwartz.
Mhm.
They're like, no, it's
Yeah.
S words.
Yeah.
Schwartz. I'll take Schwartz.
Schwartz.
That's
the
therapist.
penis mightier.
Yeah.
My 6-year-old, there's a new He-Man series on Netflix. And it's good. It's it's good, and he's into it, and so he's now he's collecting these new He-Man figurines and stuff like that. But they are now running with like the old He-Man figurines, and we were at Target a couple weekends ago, and he was like, "What kind of He-Man is that?" I'm like, "Oh, this is the old one. This is super cool, whatever." And he's like, "Can I have it?" I'm like, "Yes."
Yeah.
And I'm like, when you get home, I got something for you that you just gotta see.
Yeah.
And we got home. I made him up, peanut butter sandwich, and like sat him down at the table, and I'm like, "You ready?"
You're prepping, yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, what are we doing?" I'm like, "We are going to watch Masters of the Universe, starring Dolph Lundgren."
Oh, get out! Oh my god!
And he was like, "Okay." And I'm thinking to myself, like, as I'm, we're like 15 minutes into it, and I'm like, if this is all I get, I'm cool. like I got 15 minutes, and he loved it. Watched
That's
it
awesome.
all the way to the end. I'm like, dude, just wait. Let's watch it through the credits, because they set themselves up for a sequel that never happened.
Never happens.
So, have you ever heard of a movie called Electric Boogaloo: The Wild Story of Canon
Yes.
Films?
Yes. I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it. Yes.
It's great, but there's an awesome sequence where they're making Masters of the Universe, and the Canon Films people who are kind of connected to De Laurentiis, and so, they're such strivers,
Yeah.
They've managed to get Stallone to come visit the set of Masters of the Universe, and Stallone sees Lundgren, and Stallone turns to the producer and goes, "You giving that guy lines?" like in total, like, whoa, like in total disbelief.
I'm surprised you give me lines. You're giving this guy lines?
to be fair, he's got like 3 in the entire
Right.
movie.
Oh, I know.
I watched that movie for the dialogue, so
I really like to bug my wife, because Courtney Cox, a young Courtney Cox,
Yep.
is in that
Yep.
movie. And
Is this pre or post Dancing in the Dark?
Post.
When she's on stage with some reason.
It's,
Post?
yeah,
Oh,
it's
wow.
post. So I think that was kind of like her, her first moment, as far as my understanding, was that video. And
You
then,
know the trajectory stars take. You do a music video, you do a Dolph Lundgren vehicle.
Yeah.
You do
So,
a sitcom, you do a
she did that, and
Ventura.
then she did some small parts and stuff like that, and so, but I think she was in one full feature film before Masters of the Universe, but I think it was a smaller role. But
This explains why Friends, by the way, like all of those people are stars, but why Friends was like hard negotiating with them, because they're like Courtney Cox, you were in a Dolph Lundgren movie. Aniston, you were in Leprechaun. Okay, you should be thanking us.
Leprechaun.
I don't want to go. I mean, like, I don't want to go too far off the rails of Masters of the Universe, because I think it's an important topic that we.
Oh, yeah, it is.
It'll be a separate episode.
But did you watch any of that, like, reunion thing with Friends at all?
No,
with Friends.
didn't.
I was like, wait, there was a Masters of Reunion.
No, that would be amazing. That would be so. Oh my god. The bald guy who's the principal in Back to the Future is like the cop in there, and I was thinking to myself, like, what is that dude up to? Like, that dude is.
Question.
I mean, like, he was in Back to the Future. Like, that was a major,
He's resting on his
movie.
laurels wherever he is. Yeah.
But they said in that Friends thing, they had like the producers and stuff like that on there, and they did this whole bit with them, and the actor that they wanted the most and they were kind of like, if we can't get this actor, this show will not happen. Was Ross?
David Schwimmer.
They were like the whole. These producers were like the whole show hangs on us getting Schwimmer, and I was like, what? Like, I mean, and
it
he
turns out they were right, I guess.
Were they?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
But I think there's a long history of this in network TV where I've noticed it more in like some of the teen shows or whatever, but like 90210 originally had Garth and Shannon Doherty cast as each other, like the other roles. And then they were like, no, we're going to flip this. We're going to have Shannon Doherty, who's this notorious bad girl, playing like the good girl. We have Jenny Garth, who's like the sweet angel, who's literally like shows up on time, knows her lines, and is sober on set every day. Have her be the bad girl.
Sure.
You know? And there's like, or my wife and I have been listening to this podcast about the OC, and it's fun. It's pretty fun. And
do you know who our first guest was on this show?
Oh my God! Please do tell.
Phantom Planet.
What?
Yeah.
It's the circle of life. Oh
That's
my
it.
God.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're such nice dudes. It was a ton of fun.
It was.
Oh my gosh. So the OC thing they're talking about casting is fascinating. They're going through some stuff. And originally they had the person. It's one of these fascinating things. I've been laughing about listening because I still keep up with my old bandmates, and we laugh and tell horrible stories about bad label interference in our band. Like, we got signed from a demo, and then they proceeded to ruin everything about us that they liked in the demo when they would try to send us to different producers and spend tens of thousands of dollars, right? Like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. I'm like, why did you ever even sign us?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, like, but it's funny because we were laughing about how in the OC podcast, they're regularly talking to like Josh Schwartz and the two women who host it, it was the actress who played Julie Cooper and the actress who played Summer. And they regularly talk about how the notes they got from the network were frequently really good or useful, where they're like, so but like the character who they have playing Seth was originally one of the people who read for like Ryan, the bad boy.
Yeah.
But they have him play like the nerdy guy. And they're like, they're laughing because like, they're like, he was like a really, really good looking guy. And we're like, are we sure we want this really good looking guy playing our nerdy kind of outsider?
Yeah.
And the thing, and Fox made this point. They're like, you intend for him to have girlfriends as the show goes along, right? And they're like, yeah, it's like, it's going to be more believable to our audience that he's like an attractive kind of outsider, as opposed to making him as I think he was originally kind of a cipher for the director and writer. And then they're like, you're going to need someone more handsome than what you're imagining for this role. And it's just like, it's fascinating. Like, that was somebody who read for the other thing, you know?
Yeah.
But the Ross thing, it makes sense though, because if they tried to do that thing where like, well, we'll have someone try to read for Chandler, and if they're not as funny as Chandler, we'll put them in Ross. That doesn't really work. You know, that's when that's the mistake like football teams make with like free safeties. You know, they're like, oh, we'll just take somebody who flunks out at corner and put them at free safety. Well, then they get torched. Right. It's like a totally different skill set, you know, but that's like,
and
that makes
I
all
guess
sense because Schwimmer is tough. You know, Ross was a tough character to nail.
Yeah.
Because
and he's
also
the closest thing that show has to a straight man too. So it's like having someone who can hang with all of them and then choose not to like choose his moments of insanity. Whereas the rest of them, I feel like we're just on 10 pretty much the entire time. Yeah, I don't know.
Some fun fact just came in. One was that Dolph Lundgren actually has an engineering degree.
Of course he does.
Hire him.
Yeah,
Hire him.
How fucking cool would that be? You got Dolph Lundgren designing pedals for you.
I would. Oh my god, I would. That would be that. I would do it.
Caroline by Dolph.
You have to. The Dolph line.
The Dolph line. No.
That's a serious. That would be a pretty amazing.
Yeah,
he was actually really good. I saw on an episode of Arrow.
Okay.
He was on like a few years back. Yeah, it's a good show. And Dolph was on Arrow, playing on the mobster. I must have
missed that.
Yeah,
love that. What do you got?
We got Aaron. Aaron. Actually, Aaron has a legit question. Not just telling me how gorgeous I am like he does.
That's so boring. Pump him up a little bit.
So he says, with how I love and use my somersault, any chance Caroline will do their take on a flanger? I've yet to totally fall in love with a flanger, and I'd wager Phillippe's would roll.
Oh man, that's some high praise. I don't see a flanger in our immediate future. I have a weird mixed relationship with a lot of them. Like a lot of them sound really rough to me. Like it's just been a flavor that I've not. It's not something I've often liked. And candidly, the only flanger that I loved unreservedly is the old ADA, like the old big box wide thing. And I have one of those, and it ruled my world. And if Aaron wants, I can post a link to an article I wrote in Premier Guitar about it. Because that flanger does. So a lot of people who like flangers now really love that thing. And I'm like, okay. And it's almost like, to me, that should be what a flanger is at with everything at 10. And the ADA is amazing at everything from 0 to 9.9 on every dial.
Yeah.
Of that, where you're like, and I'm listening to ADA and I'm like, oh my God, did they use this on like every Cure song?
Yeah. Danger Zone as well.
Good. It's so good. And I'm like, and the other thing that leaped out to me on the flanger, I remember the first time I got it. I remember going to my employee Ben about this, my coworker Ben, who's our GM, and I went, Ben, you've got to hear this. And he's like, a flanger? Floor, you know? And I'm like, you got to hear this. And he's like, you got to hear this. You're like, and I hear him go in the other room, plug in the flanger into a deluxe, and he plays like a couple notes with it clean, and then he turns the pedal on and hits one note, and the first word out of his mouth is "wow." And I'm like, because I think the sound quality of the ADA is really good, and it's kind of a lodestar for a lot of stuff that I try to think about and do, because just the sound quality, even if you just have the thing on mildly, is like, I can see how I could Andy Summers this. Andy Summers did it with a Electric Mistress, but like I could see how I could Andy Summers this, where I would have a hard time turning this off when I'm not distorted. Yeah. You know, where I just have this on. I'm going from clean to crunchy, and clean always has a little bit of this flanger matrix kind of thing happening.
Have you investigated into the pedal to see like what you like about it, or is it some like, have you found the thing, or is it just some sort of strange alchemy in that particular pedal for you?
You know, I think there's a couple things that are going on that are really cool. I mean, for one, the ones that I have there's ones from the 70s and 90s that are the same, and they use like old Redicon Bucket Brigade analog delay chips. Yeah, they're fantastic. I think the secret thing in that thing is the compander. There's a little bit of a compressor kind of thing that's happening on just the affected side, and I think that it doesn't have like a squashy compression, but it's supposed to, one of these things where like, you know how you're playing clean, sometimes you're like, if you're totally raw and clean, there's like, you sort of feel like I'm cutting ham with a coin, you know. It's like, it's just like, oh man, I'm kind of fighting here, you know.
I just need to sit with cutting ham with a coin for a second.
It's just not
is it like a is it a dime? Is it a ribbed coin?
Like a nickel, you know. You're trying traction in there, you know?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, this is just rough, you know? And all of a sudden you get like a compressor, and a compressor can make some things too easy, and then other things are just like, like you're just like you're strangling a duck. And then like, but the compander in the ADA is like really gentle on just the affected side, where it's like, hold on for a second. Not only are we going to give you a little flanging or a little chorusing or whatever you like, we're also going to make this easy for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, oh, well, thanks for the easy button here. You know,
now
like,
I have some sliced ham. This is great.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
is this what I needed for
Pre-sliced
this?
ham.
Yeah. You know, it's just like you get the right. It reminds me of the time, like, for all my life, I've played like Fender style guitars and pedals and amps and all this stuff. And then I'm like, man, I really love the way Slash sounds on those first two Guns N' Roses records. I'm sitting there messing with pedals and blah, 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 and I'm like trying to get it, and it doesn't ever sound right. I'm playing a 25.5-inch scale instrument and all this shit. And then all of a sudden one day, coworker brings in a JCM 800, and I'm like, oh, cool. What's that? JCM 800. Hold on, let me turn everything to 5 and plug it in. Hold on, we have Les Paul in this shop right now, right? Let me grab Les Paul. Oh man, you know, did you know that to get bacon flavored meat, the easiest way is to just cook bacon? It's like all of a sudden, like I'm playing Paradise City and Sweet Child and all. It's like, oh, this is really like this kind of easy when you have like the right tool. Here.
Turns out the recipe calls for the ingredients after all. Yeah.
It's like, here's some bacon. You know,
that's awesome.
You know, whereas I'd been trying to make like, I don't know, chicken tenders taste like bacon. You know,
I have fewer opportunities to use my JCM 800 than I would like, but I did fire it up a couple weekends ago. Family was out of town. Yeah, like that. This is like, you know, like, what's my big bachelor weekend gonna be? I'm gonna play my old fucking Marshall. Yeah. But man, I mean, just the.
Please tell me you played that 78 custom through it. That 78 Les Paul custom you have. Please tell me you played it through it.
He did not.
I did not.
Oh, what did you play through that JCM though?
I played a Heritage H150.
Oh, that thing will rock.
That'll be fine.
Oh my god, you're fine. Yeah, gold.
Yeah, no.
We should do a heavy. If we ever do a sleep study show again, big amps.
Oh yeah,
Les Pauls.
We should just do a Doom show. I mean, like,
well, yeah, but yours. All right,
the Doom people hate me. I can't piss them off any more than I already have.
Let's do it. Guitars below the knees.
Okay, so hey, you know what? I didn't even realize what time
down
it is.
tuned to C sharp. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone who is still there?
We have Dave Hall with a question.
We usually save the last 10-15 minutes for questions, so fire away. If you fired one earlier and we didn't see it, you can
slap it in
now, because we're looking for them now. Where are we? Quick question. What is it about the preamp in the Parabola that makes it sound so good?
4 O's, 5 O's.
Paired with the Icarus V2, they interact so well together. Love your work.
Thanks, Dave. I'm reminded of a song by some of the paragons of the American songbook called Lynyrd Skynyrd. And they have a line that says, "If you ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lies." No, I mean, I think the impedances work really well, and I think they're voiced pretty well together. The preamp and the parabola is the foundation of the drive in the Icarus.
You did. That's
sorry.
I'm sure it's. I had someone chew me out for saying pecan. I said pecan recently, and they're like, "What?"
You can say pecan though. Ryan,
what are you supposed to say?
They're saying it's pecan. I'm like, you mean you eat?
Oh, that person thinks they're right.
What were they from? That one town in Virginia that all of the stereotypes come from?
Yeah.
Is that where they're from?
like
pecan.
You legally have
When
to have a pecan pie cooling on your windowsill at all times.
I hear pecan and I think of the scene in History of the World, the Mel Brooks were like, piss boy, like
yeah. It's called a chamber pot
boy.
where we come from.
Yeah, chamber pot. No, it's pecan. I had a pecan tree in my front lawn in Dallas. Okay, I know it's pecan, right? That's it. But yeah. So the Parabola and Icarus share a similar preamp architecture, except the Icarus expands upon it, changes the clipping diodes, changes the gain range, a bunch of stuff. But generally, you're kind of voicing things fairly similar, and they work together because they're pretty much of the same ilk, similar input and output impedances and everything. So yeah, they're gonna go together quite nicely.
Sweet,
love that. Like pecans.
Yeah, we have some
like pecans and brown sugar.
That's right, baby.
And
a little glass of sweet tea for you,
Mason. Mason, if you were a smartass earlier, I missed it. I'll have to go scroll up. It's good to have you back, dude. Mason is one of our faves. He wants to know what's the best way to purchase your pedals.
You know what? Support our retailers. Find a retailer that you like. If there's one near you in your town, or if there's one online that you like working with, and go with them. I mean, those people, man, you know what a bachelor vacation weekend for me would be? I would love to visit 4 or 5 guitar shops.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like we used to do the CME visits just so I could have an excuse to hit like CME, Rock and Roll Vintage, and find one or two others in Chicago. I could waste. It's funny because I pay, like, I call it a tax. I'm like, if I didn't buy something expensive just from getting to hang out here, at least let me buy a strap or reload on strings or something. Just let me just hang here and just enjoy the vibe. Man, I just love guitar shops, man. If I could do a talking tour and visit 20 guitar shops in a month just to chat pedals and see gear, I would do it.
A talking tour? Like, I'm picturing you with a flag and a little Britney mic in CME.
Yeah, actually,
walking backwards.
So the last time I was in Chicago, last time I was in Chicago was with you at Chicago Music Exchange.
That's right.
That's how long it's been since I've been to Chicago. But
oh my god!
But
was that what it was? The round table where we all like a bunch of.
They did a thing where they had them all. They had them all in this semicircle. So it was like him, Josh Scott,
who's here now, by the way. Let's bring him in.
Yep. Not yet. One of these days.
Man, my son. I'll never forget. My son crashed the talk circle. My 3-year-old son at the time, he's now 7, and he crashed. And one of my favorite things about the thing is he crashes the circle, lies down on top of me while they're answering questions, and proceeds to eat a banana and then just like drop it on the floor. And you see in pictures,
like, throw it at the Les Paul wall or something. That's
he's just like, and banana, I'm out. Like he dropped it like he was playing Super Mario Kart, and he was leaving it for like Jamie Stillman from Earthquaker to slip on. Here you go.
I really like this question. What are you most excited about in the pedal game? It's a business.
Yeah.
What do you think are the next big moves industry-wise?
Oh,
man.
You are the guy to ask that question. Because you just, through like working at Premier Guitar, and like you've just had tendrils.
He's got an MBA.
I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen a lot of stuff. You might be our
most qualified intellectual we've had on.
Everybody else is just
stupid.
Morons. Yeah. Okay. Sidebar again. I can't help myself.
You can put that timer thing back on.
Yeah, turn it on. Ding, 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 a ding. So I remember they're talking to Ad Rock from the BC Boys about music. They're like, "What new music are you listening to, or what do you think's coming next?" And Ad Rock goes like, "Man, I've been overwhelmed lately with all the music that I've missed, like or stuff that came out that I didn't know that came out." And he's like, "So I'm like digging through, and I'm like digging through all this old." He's like, "So I feel bad that like I can't tell you what I think is exactly coming because I'm sitting there combing through like the last 15, 20 years of stuff. And there's always other stuff that I'm finding in the past. That's like, how did I miss this? You know, I played with some stuff recently by Dave Fox of Fox Rocks, and that stuff sounded so good. I mean, I ain't lying. Like, to me, like, I'm playing with some of the Fox Rock stuff, some of the fuzzes and stuff like that. He had a hot silicon. There was a planking one of the other ones. He made a pedal that was boutique cocaine for a while called the Captain Coconut. It was like a vibe and a booster and a fuzz and but Fox Rock stuff. Yeah, it was like I gotta have it. Can I get on the wait list, Analog Man, for 5 years? You know,
new colorway.
Yeah, it's wait. I got one in black, and they just released it in red. You know, so but the Fox Rock stuff sounded so good. This was the guy who used to be the main designer at Crest Audio, and then he relaunched the Dallas Arbiter fuzz faces, so like the gray ones in the 80s that were that, and it's like this guy knows these things so well. And I'm sitting there playing with some stuff, and I'm like, how is this guy not selling 10 times what all of the rest of us put together on? You know, and I'm like, this is just so good and so fresh and different, and maybe it gets missed by stuff. And so I wish I mean, I was laughing about this when we were talking about the pedal movie with someone. Like 5 years ago, no one would have predicted what Joel at Chase Bliss does. You know,
sure.
5-6 years ago, he's not on a panel. He's not even in. If they'd made the pedal movie in 2014, Joel isn't even in the movie.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he's come and he's been like this rocket fuel of a different kind of thing. So I can't predict what people will do. You know, I wish I could say, because I mean, 5 years ago, I would have said like, well, I guess we're all going to just eat Strymon and Eventide's dust for the rest of our lives. And that didn't turn out to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
so probably another clone. You think that's
I think
that I can predict.
I mean, I don't think there are enough.
No,
that's for sure.
Speaking of clone, Josh,
I need another
Scott,
clone.
everybody, let's bring him in.
Oh, look!
Not yet.
No, I
right, one of these days.
I missed him again.
We haven't got his assistant yet, or the. Oh my gosh! I have a long.
Oh, somebody has a crumb under the.
Yes.
One of these days, I'm gonna fly out without telling you.
So Joan, I think this may have been answered. But she asked, "What pedal do you think that?" What pedal? Oh, okay. What pedal do you think that you make that people sleep on, and it's something that you kind of want to, like what's a B-side and should have been a hit?
I got to say Parabola. I think Parabola is always one of the funniest things, because I'm like, okay, I get why people wouldn't buy this. I actually understand a lot of reasons, because I'm like, okay, it's not tap tempo and it's a tremolo pedal. Tremolo isn't for everybody. It's not tap tempo. It doesn't have 24 different waveforms. It doesn't have a bunch of programmable stuff. Yada, 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 yada. I get it. But whenever we test parabolas, and we don't make them as often as we make our other stuff, so I'm not hearing them test as often, but whenever we test them, we put a parabola in front of the most brutal solid state amp that we have, right? The thing is, like, we call this thing the lie detector. Like it's like you flipped one diode one way the wrong way, or you flipped a capacitor the wrong way, whatever. Like, this thing will tell you.
It's the old Volkswagen car stereo that you would listen to your mixes on. Those are the last. If it like you listen to everything else, and then that was the very last one that it had to be a VW tape deck.
Why I still drive one.
Yeah, and if it sounded good in there,
then you can go forward.
Then you're done.
Yeah. But this thing, we use it as our final test amp, and every time we're testing parabolas, we're like, God, this thing makes this brutal 70 solid state amp sound like a cool pawn shop prize. And it does this regularly to different amps, where it's just like the tremolo does some fun things, and then there's like an FM mode on it that's like a filtered version of it that like does some stuff, and it's just, I'm like, this feels like what I really enjoy about, like, I wish this sounds like the amp tremolo that I wish I would find in amps.
Yeah,
sure.
And that's where I'm like, this is still a really cool thing, you know? And it's not for everybody, but for us, whenever we test them, I'm like, I'm glad we get to make this thing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Got David back with another question about the Karam. Does it have a pickup emulator like the Hawaiian Pizza?
It does not. It doesn't need to. It's high enough impedance, so it won't be. It is agnostic as to its placement in your signal chain.
All right. Well,
the Karam is agnostic. That's very fun.
Yeah, I know. I thought you'd like that. Oh my goodness.
I'm excited for the Karam.
Yeah.
And yeah, Brendan was in there. Saying that he said it rips, and I am excited to see what Brendan has cooked up with it, because Brendan also rips. Takes one to
His
know
band
one.
sounds so good.
Yeah.
His band sounds so good, and I'm always like, I enjoy listening to Brendan's band.
Yeah.
It's just like, and it's just a delight. It's just a delight. And I've hung with him before, and he's just a great dude. And yeah, it is I think about this, and I know we're about to sign off, but just one thing I was thinking of is just like, we're lucky we get to do this stuff. And I've been trying to, when you mentioned like something that's a B-side should be a hit, and I was like, I agree. But even if it's a B-side, it's like, I've got to make some pedals that were exactly what I wanted to make.
Yeah.
You know? And if they're not successful in the market, well, the only person that's really to blame on that is me. But it's also like, I got to make what I wanted to make. Mm-hmm. Nobody forced me into making a clone.
Yeah.
You know? And I think about that with just hearing Brendan's music, getting to do the demo stuff and the playing and the comment, and like, I need to buy a Hello Internet Friends shirt like yesterday, because it's like so true. Getting to make pedals, getting to do a creative endeavor. Like, I've been thinking about this a lot, how nobody owes you an audience or appreciation or market success or anything. Nobody owes you those things. You are not entitled to those things.
Right.
But you do have an opportunity to do what you like and have fun with it and accept the consequences or reap the rewards of doing that. And I was thinking about this like a couple days ago. You posted that thing of me playing with like the Mandocaster.
Yeah.
It was hilarious because I come in and I'd been feeling like kind of, I don't know, just a little in the dumps or a little just rough week. And Ben has the thing, is like, look at this thing. And I'm like, whoa. And I was like, let me plug in. It's like Ben was repairing a fuzz pedal for someone. And I was like, let's plug it in the fuzz pedal and let's plug it into some other stuff. And I start noodling and just start making an ass of myself. And I realized like Ben and Chris are laughing. And I'm like, this is what I needed, man. It's just a chance to like take your thinking cap off.
Yeah.
And just bang on an instrument and make some noise. They're like, what is this? Like some kind of Irish jig that you're trying to play or whatever. I'm like, I thought I was trying to play something that sounded like Keep Yourself Alive by Queen meets the Smashing Pumpkins thing, but it ended up sounding like the Stonehenge breakdown.
It kind of did. I mean, it sounded like, it had some Queen in it, but like you're in the year of 49, the Sympathy of the Volunteers kind of.
Like, it's just like, I'm like, and this, what we get, and it's all of a sudden like, Ben's like, let's just post this. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, sure. So we film a little thing and post it. And it like, people are just so delighted by it. And I'm like, man, this is really what it's about. Like, you create something, tries to bring some joy to people, and if it doesn't, well, that's cool. It's like there's this great footage of Liam Gallagher listening to a bunch of music that they try to get him to like slam on, and Liam Gallagher just keeps going, not for me, mate. Not for me, mate. Like that's all he's gonna say. And I'm like, yeah, if it's not for them, cool. But if you enjoy it and it does something for people, hell yeah, roll with it.
What I'm hearing you say is you're grateful for free will and the strength to crush your enemies.
Yes.
Yes.
That was
free will and the strength to crush my enemies. Yes.
I had a way to end this, but that's it. That was beautiful. Phillippe, thank you, man.
What a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here, and I will talk to you soon. We need to do more of these.
Mm-hmm.
I would love it. It was a blast, man. Thank you for having me on.
All right, thanks, man. All right. Whoop. What did I just do?
I don't know.
I don't know
either. Did you end it? No, we're still broadcasting.
We're still broadcasting?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. I have no...
Can you hit remove? What's that center one?
What does that say?
It says remove.
Well, I can't.
Okay.
I think it's just Phillippe on there right now.
It's sick.
Wow. How do I end this?
End broadcasting in the top right.
See you guys. Come back next week. I swear we'll have this figured out. It's not doing it.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, dude. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, wait. I think you hit.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, are we still going?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
But Phillippe is still up. You just hit print last time.
I hit print?
Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense to me. Jeez, man. All right. So we gotta get this
printed
figured out.
Oh, yeah.
Between now and next week,
because
next week we have Clean Fazio of Fazio Electric here.
Speaking of people way smarter,
2 weeks. Sorry,
than I am.
Yeah. So that is going to be really exciting. And then 2 weeks after that we have Justin Abernethy of Abernethy Guitars. So, oh my gosh, there's Corey Asian.
Hi, Corey.
Corey, I was gonna share a Corey Asian story earlier, when he was talking about how he gets to make these things, and like he gets to feel good about them even if they're not whatever. I remember Corey used to make his own mixes. And then if he didn't like the one that the mixing engineer did, and so then he would just listen to the mix that he made because that was how he heard the song. And I was at the time I was totally confused by it, but as there are a lot, Corey, there are a lot of things that I've learned that you told me when I was younger and I wasn't ready to hear it, and now makes total sense to me. But that was one of those things.
He told us to power cycle it, so I think
I don't even know what that means.
Turn it off.
Oh,
and then turn it on again. But it's about
that's a PC trick. I don't really know if that works on Mac.
Is this on a clapper? Most PCs are.
All right, so we'll see you guys next week. Thank you for being here. Talk to you later. Oh, maybe.